Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Longinusa, welcoming you to another edition of Next on the Tee with Chris-Mascaro, the show where industry leaders, golf professionals, and legends all come and discuss the great game we love so much. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our host to tell us who's next on the tee. Chris, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joe. Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming back and joining me today on Next on the Tee. We are brought to you today by the great folks over at the French Lick Resort. Folks, there isn't a better place to stay and play anywhere on the planet, and you'll see why I say that when you go online and check them out at FrenchLick.com. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I have a couple of great guys that I get to share with you over the next hour or so. First up with me today is Chris-sheehan. Chris has had a great career as a PGA professional, working at some of the most prestigious golf courses in the country. Places like Bighorn Golf Club, which you'll recall hosted the Skins game and the battle at Bighorn between Tiger Woods and Sergio Garcia. He's also worked at Oak Hill and Inverness as well. We'll chat about that and a whole lot more when Chris joins me here in just a few minutes. Following him, we'll get a return visit from our good friend, 2003 PGA champion Shaun Micheel. We'll talk with Shaun about his preparations for this upcoming season. We'll see also what he thinks about the European Tour allowing their players to wear shorts during pro-ams and practice rounds as well. Plus, we'll get his memories of playing in the Phoenix Open at TPC Scottsdale when Shaun joins me a little bit later here in this half hour. But I want to start off this week's show by wishing my mom a very happy birthday. I wouldn't be anywhere in life, Mom, without you. I love you so very much and hope you have a wonderful birthday. Can't wait to see you a little bit later today. Okay, let's start the show off right by helping you start your mornings off right. Go check out our friends over at Aroma Ridge because they offer an array of the finest mountain-grown gourmet coffees that you're going to find anywhere. Find them online at aromaridge.com. Their secret? Hand-selected beans from a variety of coffee-producing countries from around the world. They roast those beans to perfection by their very own roast master. Their coffees are roasted specifically for you, and I mean that, specifically for you. And if you like a little flavor in your coffee, they have almost any flavor you can imagine. Plus, you can even mix and match flavors to create one of your very own. And not only are their coffees great, they are fantastic people as well. You're not going to find a better tasting coffee or better people anywhere on the planet. And right now, they have a Valentine's Day special going on their Wicked Jack's rum cake, chocolate rum cake, and red velvet rum cake. 20 ounces of deliciousness, my friends. Check out their great products online at aromaridge.com. Next on the Tee is brought to you today by our friends over at the French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. Folks, you want to talk about a spectacular resort to both play golf and just relax and enjoy yourself? Well, you're not going to find a better place than the French Lick Resort. Go to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself. And let's hear a word from our friends over there.
Now's the time to plan that golf getaway you've been dreaming about at French Lick Resort. We have new Golf Academy packages for 2016, guaranteed to take your game to the next level. Try our one-day Quick Fix Academy for golf emergencies. For more in-depth learning, try the Game Changer, designed to make you a better player. Our staff professionals are ready to work with you at French Lick Resort. Did you know there's only one place in the country that you can play courses designed by two members of the World Golf Hall of Fame on the same property? The Pete Dye and Donald Ross courses at French Lick Resort make us an ultimate golf destination for 2016. Check out the Ultimate Golf Package, the Hall of Fame Package, and other great offerings at FrenchLick.com. Let 2016 be that year you finally take your dream golf getaway at French Lick Resort. Play the courses champions play.
Yeah, folks, it's spectacular. I had the privilege of taking my family there last summer, and we're really looking forward to going back. The French Lick Resort needs to be on your list of places to stay and play. And oh, by the way, my friends, they also have a casino right there on property as well. For more information and to book your stay, go to FrenchLick.com. And every week here on Next on the Tee, we like to kick off the show by saluting the brave men and women serving in every branch of our military. We want to thank all of you for the daily sacrifices that you and your families make so our freedoms and liberties are protected. We also want to thank our veterans and your families for all you've done for us over the years. It's through the strength of our military personnel that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and the wonderful folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It's an honor for us to have Next on the Tee be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. Also want to remind our veterans, be sure to check out globalvoiceforveterans.org, a great site with news and articles and a wealth of information specifically geared towards our veterans that I'm sure you're going to find both interesting and beneficial. Again, go to globalvoiceforveterans.org. All right, now joining me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Chris Sheehan. Let me give you some more background on Chris. He was the captain of the baseball and hockey teams at Trinity College up in Hartford, Connecticut, and was an All-Region and All-American nominee in both. Somehow, golf won out over baseball and hockey, and we'll find out why here in just a moment. But Chris won the 2003 Western New York PGA Section Assistant Professionals Championship and tied for 38th at the TaylorMade Adidas National Assistant Professional Championship later that same year. He's been a PGA professional since 1999, and he has worked at clubs like Bighorn Golf Club, Oak Hill Country Club, a club near and dear to my next guest, Shaun Micheel's heart, Inverness Golf Club, Tuscany Reserve Golf Club, Gateway Golf and Country Club, and he's now the director of golf at Pelican's Nest Golf Club down in Bonita Springs, Florida, near Naples. He spent 6 seasons working alongside 3 of Golf Digest's top 100 instructors, including 2 of Claude Harmon's sons and brothers of Butch, Bill Harmon and Craig Harmon, plus Todd Stones as well. In 2009, Chris was the PGA South Florida Section's Private Club Merchandiser of the Year. He's also the president of the Southwest Florida chapter of PGA Professionals, and he's with me again this morning on Next on the Tee. Chris, thanks so much for being a part of the show with me this morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. This is a neat opportunity. I look forward to the show.
Thanks, Chris. So, Chris, let's start at the beginning. When was the first time you started to play the game of golf, and who was the person to put the golf club in your hands?
Well, my dad was a All-American hockey player at Providence College in the '60s. He got into golf after he graduated. He was a high school history teacher and then became a high school principal. And we played sparingly. We had 4 boys. We were all hockey and baseball players. Golf really wasn't a priority in the family, and with one income, low income, we really couldn't afford to play. But we would play once in a while at an Air Force base in Narragansett, Rhode Island. And I remember my first victory when I was probably about 8. I think I shot 127 and beat my brother, who went on to play the PGA Tour for many years. So I should have quit then, but I really wasn't into golf until college. As many years as I was at college, I should be a doctor, not a golf professional. But I took a semester off involuntarily when I was in college, and my dad hired a math teacher at a boys' parochial school, who ended up becoming the general manager at a little club off the coast of Connecticut called the Hay Harbor Club on Fisher's Island, New York. And one year, Billy Harmon came to do a golf school, and I was the fetch boy. I was in charge of the tennis courts and cutting grass, and they needed a volunteer to help, and I helped Billy with the golf school. And that summer, the junior program went from 30 kids to 100 kids, and I had been around golf my whole life, and just happened to be in the right place at the wrong time after doing the wrong things. So it was interesting. So Billy offered me a job back in his car onto the boat. I went out to California, and he sent me over to Craig at Oak Hill. And when I was leaving Oak Hill, I didn't quite get the jobs that I wanted, and turned down the jobs that I did get. So I went to Inverness to teach for 2 years for David Graff. I was the director of instruction there. And then by force of nature, my wife got injured. I got injured, and we ended up just packing up the car, driving down to Florida about 12 years ago. And here we are, beautiful Pelican's Nest Golf Club in Bonita Springs. So, yeah, it's been a long, strange sort of blowing in the wind type of career for me. I've been lucky and certainly tried to make the most of it, and try to help PGA professionals and our members and amateurs alike as much as I can by staying involved and doing the best that I can do.
So, Chris, kind of going back, as you mentioned, your father being a hockey player, you were really good at baseball and hockey, in high school and college. How did golf end up winning out over either baseball or hockey?
Well, as the window of opportunity closes as you get older, hockey, I had an opportunity to play. I went to a few of the U18 Olympic tryouts up in Lake Placid, and had an offer to play professional hockey in Russia and Spain that I turned down because I really wanted to play baseball as well. Had opportunities to play baseball at Duke and didn't go, and I wanted to play both, so I went to a real small school in Hartford and played hockey and baseball. And by that time, you're either that good where you can continue to play for a career, or you're not that good, and you got to find something else to do. And it just so happened my junior year of college, I was around a golf club, and I worked from 5 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, and then I had the rest of the day because I was stuck on an island to do whatever I wanted to do, which was play golf. And I learned how to play at the Hay Harbor Club. Fortunately met the Harmons along the way, and got into the club business really because of kids. Seeing someone smile for the first time, and is a neat feeling. And I've always taken pride in being able to teach someone how to hit a golf ball better, and enjoy their facility a lot better, enjoy their after-work lifestyle a lot better. So golf's been a good fit for me.
And Chris, as I was kind of doing all the research on you, a couple of things jumped out. First, I read an article that said last May 27th, you and along with assistant pros Ryan Sanders and Dan Gawronski, you guys played 378 holes of golf in a 10-hour span that ended up benefiting, I think, several local charities. You guys raised $14,000, which is absolutely amazing. But 378 holes of golf in 10 hours, how did you pull that off?
It was our second year doing it, and as officers of the Southwest chapter, we have a tournament of charities program where we have 6 beneficiaries: the Florida Gulf Coast University boys and men's and ladies golf teams, Southwest Florida Junior Golf, a drug and alcohol addiction outfit for kids here in Southwest Florida. And there are several pros that do things throughout the year to raise money. And what we decided to do was I started on 1, Dan started on 10, and Ryan started somewhere in the middle. We teed off at 8 o'clock and then just went round and round and round and round and round and round and round until it got dark. And with the wonderful and generous sponsorships of the members here at the club, some folks played per hole finish. Some folks added extra dollars if you made some birdies. Some folks added money if you stayed alive, and we did it. So it was neat. It was hard to walk for the next 4 days, but it was fun and certainly worthy recipients of our efforts. And as I mentioned earlier, things that I can do to enhance people's lives through golf is a rewarding experience for me. So it was glad to do it. I've already started stretching and working out for the next one, which is coming up probably in May. So we'll see if we can cap that 14,000 again this year. So it'll be neat.
But are you sprinting after the golf? I mean, if you look at it, you do the math, right? It was 600 minutes. Yeah. I think you guys spent like 10 hours, 370. I mean, it's like under 2 minutes a hole.
It's about that. It's 6.5 rounds of golf, just about. And when you're in a golf cart and you're by yourself. And once you play the first round, we just take the pins down, so we know where the flags are. And the members are generous enough to allow us the golf course for the day. And it's just hit, drive. Hopefully 1 putt or 2 putt, and then you just keep going and going and going. But once you get through the first one, the first round usually takes an hour and a half, and then the next ones take a little bit less because you're not putting the flag in and out. But it's neat. It's fun. It's exciting. And, you get to hole 50 and you're like, I can't believe I'm only halfway there. But eventually you start to work downhill and you get there. And you just keep in mind what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you move forward.
Wow, that's great. And Chris, I read that you're a big proponent of the Tee It Forward program. Talk about that and what led you to be a big believer in that, and if you also don't mind telling the Claude Harmon story about playing the right tee box.
Yeah, and years later, I guess that was a story that somehow stuck in my head. But when I worked at Oak Hill, probably around 2002 or 1, the Harmon brothers are world-class storytellers. But the Harmon family used to have what they call the Harmon Cup, and at the time, the four brothers were alive. Dick has now passed away. But you had Billy, who was at Newport Country Club at the time. Dick was at River Oaks in Houston. Craig was at Oak Hill, and I think Butch was still in Vegas at the time. And each brother would bring 12 members with them, and they'd go out and they'd play a 48-man Ryder Cup. And the brothers would, and the father at the time, Claude, who was the 1948 Masters champion and had set the record, the scoring record at the time when he had won it. He was there as well, kind of late in his years, and the five of them, the brothers and the dad, would go out and they'd just follow the matches, but they'd play behind him. And I remember the story he told. They were on the West Course, the first hole of the West Course, which is a real short par four. It's maybe 340 yards down a hill. And the brothers get out of the cart and they all go to the the blue tees, which is the back tees, and they hit their tee shots. And the father gets out of his cart and he starts walking forward. And they said, Dad, where are you going? And he said, what do you mean? He said, my play from up here. And the boys said, Dad, that's the ladies' tee. He says, no, this is my tee. I've been hitting fairways and greens my whole life, and I'm not about to stop now. So he knew, even as one of the most accomplished players ever, that golf is designed so you can hit a tee shot, get somewhere near or on the green, and have an opportunity to one putt or two putt and make par. That's why they measure the game on pars. And he wasn't about to quit late in his years. He had an understanding of how he was supposed to play, what it was supposed to feel like and look like, and he just sort of said, this is where I'm playing from. So years down the road, when I got here to Pelican's Nest, it was sort of the inaugural Tee It Forward campaign for the PGA, the USGA, and all the partners that were involved. And sure enough, Pelican's Nest had a gold, a white, a gold, a blue, a white, and a red. And colored tee markers are typically either gender specific, or there's some sort of expectation of what your handicap is and where you should play. And we had folks that in Southwest Florida, you join when you're 55 or 60, and the age as you go, and the club's 30 years old. So we had folks playing the white tees, shooting 100, and it just didn't seem to fit what they were used to seeing, what they were used to playing. They'd played golf for many years of their life, and they were used to reaching holes. And it's certainly they're both difficult golf courses here, but we decided to throw in a black tee, which was ahead of the whites. So now we had 5 tees. And then a few years later, they felt that was too short, so we put in a gray tee, which was between the black and the white. And so now we had 6 tees, and then we decided, a few years ago that we didn't want to make anybody feel obligated to play a certain tee based on the color of it, so we changed them all to Roman numerals. And now, believe it or not, last year we started a 2-year program at the club to reconstruct all the greens and the bunkers, the original greens and bunkers. And in doing so, we took the old greens material and we built 18 regulation 25 by 25 tees at a 4,000-yard mark. So that now allows all of our 9-hole women, our senior men, our beginner kids, our veteran amputees that are members here, to play a golf course that actually fits their ability. So we now have at Pelican's Nest 8 tee markers. They go from 1 to 7, and then the new course at 4,000 yards is called the scoring tee. And the reason we call it the scoring tee is not only is it going to fit the physical and technical abilities of many of our golfers, but it's also an opportunity for our better golfers to go out and see how good they are with their wedges, and hit 5-iron and manage yourself off the tee and put yourself at the 100-yard marker, and see how good you are from there. And when you find out how deficient you are in your short game and your wedge game, then it provides you an opportunity to focus your practice. As many legendary pros have always said, if I could do it over again, I'd hit wedges all day, not drivers. So we tried to build a facility to do that. And next year we'll have the Gator course. We'll redo that. We'll have 2 4,000-yard golf courses that sit on the footprint of the original, and 18 options to fit all levels of play. So it's been great for us.
And Chris, do you find that people are receptive to the idea of, because golf on some level, we all have egos, right? And we all, I can play, I can play the blues, or I can play, with my buddies. I got, one of my buddies is, we've been playing together for, 20 years. He still shoots in the 110s, the 120s. So, but he always wants to play, the same tees. We're all going to play the same, right? And we keep telling him, Bob, move up, go play the red tees. Who cares, right? Make the game a little less frustrating for you than it is, every single week when we play, or every single year when we play. So, I mean, do you find that people are receptive and are now starting to come off of our own individual egos that I can play from back there just like everybody else, and are more receptive? Did the changing of the markers from colors to numbers or any of that sort of stuff get people to go, you know what, you're right, I need to play up here?
It did, believe it or not. It's been a remarkable migration to those forward tees. We can say that last year we had more than 50% of our men's play from the 5 and 6 tees, and not to pick on Bob, but Bob's never been any good, so Bob doesn't know what it's like to be good and have fun. And
right.
If you're good and you play at 7,000 yards, then that was fun, but eventually your distance diminishes, your skills diminish, and you're used to playing a game that was fun, that you could actually play somewhat successfully. And because Bob's never had any success, he doesn't know any better. And so in the story of Claude Harmon, he was good. He was the best club professional player that may have ever lived. And he knew what the game was designed to be. Now, if Bob can't hit it on the planet, that's a different story. But if Bob was tasted success at one point, and then all of a sudden he's shooting 110 when he used to shoot 85, those are the people that are moving up. The guys that have been playing golf at great clubs throughout the country. We have members here from Pine Valley and Baltusrol and Scioto. They know what success is in golf. So the real migration has been from those that really understand how the game is intended to be played, that have had success at some level during their career, and said, you know what, I'm tired of shooting 102. I want to go back to shooting 85. And we've had people that play the appropriate tees for them that haven't broken 90 in 3 years that are now shooting 78, 79, 81 because that's the golf course that fits their ability. It's the golf course that leaves them a 7-iron into the hole where they used to have when they were 30 or 40 years old. And now that they're
right.
70 or 75 years old, they're hitting 3-woods. So it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their games, and they're migrating to the golf courses that now fit their games.
And do you find that those people come out and play more rounds of golf? Because I got to imagine, Chris, golf is a frustrating enough game as it is, right? And, trying to do all the things that we were trying to do and, the swing thoughts and this, that, and the other thing. But when you're walking off the course and you're shooting, in the hundreds, it's not a fun game. You're frustrated. I'm sure it affects, if you're like me, it affects the rest of your day because you went out there and you hacked it around, and it just, it's meant to be a fun game, right? We're meant to go out and have a good time. It's supposed to be relaxing, but it tends to be frustrating. But if you play the right tees, and now all of a sudden, you've made some birdies, you're shooting in the 70s or the low 80s. Now you've had some fun. It's got to impact the whole rest of your day. Do you find that people now enjoy coming out and they actually play more often when they play the right tees?
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. It's when we have a membership that, let's say 5 years ago was 450 members, and today it's 530. So let's say we've had an increase of 80 members. Our rounds have increased almost 17,000.
Wow.
So the percentage of increase in rounds relative to the number of members that we've increased over those years is just blows it out of the water. And you said it perfectly.
Hey.
A guy who plays on Tuesdays and Thursdays and shoots 110, that's what he accepts. But a guy who goes out on Tuesday and shoots 78 and then comes back Thursday and shoots 79, he wants to come back on Saturday to see what else he can do. He's trying to beat that 78. He's not accepting shooting 110 anymore. So where we've seen the biggest rise in our rounds is from our members who, instead of playing 2 or 3 times a week, are now playing 3, 4, or 5 times a week. And as a golf industry, and this isn't a unique thought to me, but the goal is to get them to your facility when they're there, to get them to spend as much time as possible, and I don't mean pace of play. And then when they leave, you want them coming back as soon as possible. So the fact that we've been able to increase our rounds just through our real small membership base here, through the golf course setup that we've been able to achieve over the last 6 years, has really made a marked difference on the club. And the attitudes of the members are better. They're having more fun. It's neat to see a woman who comes in and breaks 100 for her first time and hugs you. A woman who's a 30 handicapper that holds out a 3-wood for a 3 on a par 5 because she can now reach. Those are stories that we have. and they're happy. And then when they're happy, they got to come to the club that night because they got to brag and they got to buy drinks.
That's right.
And they got to do all that stuff. So it's really the atmosphere at the club, according to anecdotal stories of before these changes happened to this club. It's just a better vibe. It's a better place. People are happy. The club's happy. The club's rolling along, and we're improving our facilities, and our membership is growing, and our rounds are growing. So it's a very happy place to work. Pelican's Nest has done a great job. We have great leadership in our board members and our president, Nick Spain. But we've been blessed, and now we're all in the right place at the right time and making the right decisions to continue to grow the game.
Kudos to you guys. That's great stuff, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, I want to get some of your memories from some of the big places that you've had the opportunity to work at. You started out as an assistant pro at Bighorn Golf Club, which is people will remember has been the site of the Skins game, the Battle at Bighorn, a couple of other events on the Champions and PGA or LPGA tours have been there as well. And you were there during the Battle at Bighorn, which was staged between Tiger Woods and Sergio Garcia. Sergio winning that one up. But I'm curious, what do you remember about that event?
Well, I remember the weeks leading up to it, to watch the golf course be set up with lights on the last 3 or 4 holes, go through sort of a walking rehearsal of it. It was a unique atmosphere. To be anywhere around great players, to be anywhere around a club that commits to showcasing the game at their facility and showing off their facility is a special treat. Whether you're hosting a PGA Championship, a Ryder Cup that I've seen done at Brookline, hosting those battles, hosting the inaugural World Senior Match Play was neat to be around those 16 fellas for a week or so. Inverness had the U.S. Senior Open when I was there, which is neat. Just Bighorn is just one of those unique Xanadu type places on earth. It's R.D. Hubbard's been running it for a long time. They've got helipads, and my fondest memory, believe it or not, of Bighorn, the big men's member guest was sponsored by Rolls-Royce, Bentley, American Airlines.
Oh my!
It was one of those things you're like, what's happening here? And they bring up the Bentleys at the pairings party, and Toby Keith, who was a week before is the country Singer of the Year. He's doing the concert at the pairings party. I mean, it was just off the charts, first class, wild. They're selling Bentleys, for cash that night. And the first day of the tournament, a guy named Rick Caldor from Manhattan, Kansas, gets a hole-in-one, and it's on the Bentley hole. And he just didn't get a Bentley; he got to design his own. I mean, it was just a wild time. And working for Billy Harmon was a neat experience. His energy, his passion. It was just great. We had a wonderful staff. We did it all, and I was blessed to be there for 3 years. Yeah. Oak Hill was different. Oak Hill was the old maid. It's at the time they were the only club to host every hostable major championship. Leading up to the 2003 PGA, great buzz. That's the thing that really struck me about Oak Hill was. When you host an event of that magnitude, you literally need almost every single member of the club to help volunteer. And to see 1,500 people pull together to showcase their facility for a week to 10 days, give up their lockers, give up their clubhouse, give up their backyards, is just an amazing sight to see. And Inverness was no different. Inverness was very old, traditional, probably the hardest short hole I've ever seen in my life. I'd still like to go back and try it again because it was just so hard. The 18th hole in Inverness is just an awesome hole. And to see those members pull together for a major championship and be around those players, and in general, just for all of these clubs to give up their facilities to showcase the world of golf to people, is a tremendous commitment, tremendous sacrifice for these folks, and I was proud to be a part of many of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, you talk about Inverness. You want to talk about a site that hosted, some great events. Boy, 4 U.S. Opens, 2 Senior Opens, a couple of PGAs, and a U.S. Amateur. The site of Ted Ray's victory back in 1920. That was also Bobby Jones's first U.S. Open appearance was at Inverness. And boy, you want to talk about a course that was cruel to one guy. Poor Greg Norman got a couple of majors snatched from his
right.
jaws, on that golf course. So I can't imagine Greg Norman ever goes back to the scene of that crime. But boy, what a historical place to be, and obviously Oak Hill being near and dear to my boy Shaun Micheel's heart, who's going to join me here in just a moment. But and as you and I were talking, you had left just a little bit before the PGA Championship back in 2003. But you and Shaun have communicated over time?
Yeah, I left in 2003. My 3 years of service with Craig were up. That was sort of his program. You work there 3 years, go out and get yourself a job. And I remember in 2003. The other thing is too, you mentioned Norman getting that snatched away. The bunker shot Bob Tway hit that he holed out on 18. If you ever get Bob Tway on, ask him if he could do it again with 1,000 balls. It's one of the hardest shots in the world. The green slope's probably 8 degrees away from you, and the pin's right near him. It's just so hard. And the shot Shaun hit into the 18th hole at Oak Hill to a foot, if that. I've had that shot many times, and it's such a hard shot. So the quality of players that these guys are on the venues that I've been able to play and play somewhat successfully and certainly get my head kicked in more often than not. But the shots that these guys hit, and I was able to see it firsthand with my brother for a long time, but they're just incredible players, incredible talents that you got to be just the cream of the crop to have any success out there. And to win a major like Shaun did, and to win several majors like Greg did, and it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable when you play golf. For most of your life, and you teach it, and you see people go in and out of success and struggles, and those guys are just, and girls, are just unbelievable talents. It's hard to describe.
And Chris, couple more before we let you go. First, for weekend hackers like me that might be getting ready to go play, if we're lucky enough to live out on the West Coast or someplace where it's warm today, down in your area in Naples, give us a tip that might actually help us shave a stroke or two off our scores today.
Well, the first thing I'd say is you got to play the right golf course that fits your abilities. You can only have an ego if you feel like you're going somewhere. So if you don't feel like you're going to play in the next PGA Championship, you should play a golf course that fits your ability and have an honest assessment of your game, because setting yourself up for failure, it's just not going to add to any enjoyment of your game. So I ask everybody, and certainly we're a working model of it, but please, for the most part, you should be up 1 or 2 tees and play the appropriate tees that fit your ability. The second thing is, you hardly ever see amateurs hit it solid. So they tend to leave a lot of approach shots short, which puts a lot of stress on their short game, and they don't tend to practice their short game as much as their full swing. So be realistic about your yardages. The 7-iron you used to hit 175 probably wasn't 175. It was 160 when you remembered it, and now it's down to 140. So make sure you always play the appropriate clubs into the holes to give yourself opportunities for shorter chips, shorter putts. But it's about getting it in the hole, and it's always fun to have that one great shot per round. And folks like you and I in a day where we play a round of golf, we might hit 3 good shots, and the way you thought it was supposed to look, the way you thought it was supposed to feel, the way it looked, the way you thought it was going to look in the air, for a good player. That's 2 to 3 to 4 a round, and the average player gets 0 to 1. So you got to be realistic about your abilities. You got to be realistic about what your goals are. So when you go to play golf the next time you play, really have a little head check at the front door and say, all right, I'm going to have some fun today. I'm going to see how good I am for the appropriate golf course that fits me. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to say I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to try and hit 2 good shots today, not 50, just 2. And then that's what keeps you coming back.
That's great advice. And Chris, before I let you go, I'm a big Steelers fan, so I really appreciated your comment on Twitter that Cincinnati equals losers after that game. So thank you for that. Who do you got tomorrow in the big game?
Oh gosh, being a lifetime New England sports fan, all Boston stuff. I've always been sort of an anti Peyton Manning, but I think it'd be nice to see him win. I don't know if they have the firepower. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the first quarter. Carolina's gotten off to some hot starts here in the playoffs and at the end of their season. If they can get a 10-14 point lead early on, I'm not sure Denver can come back. But you got the old guard with lots of experience. I'm sure he's got some wrinkles up his sleeve. Might have a few different cadences at the line of scrimmage, but I think the horses are really running with Carolina, so I'm going to take Carolina. Let's say 27-21.
All right, Carolina 27-21. Got you down. Chris, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to be a part of the show. You're fantastic. I hope you'll come back and do it again with me sometime. You
call me anytime. It was a pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you, Chris.
All right, take care, Chris.
Take care.
That's Chris Sheehan. He is, well, you talk about a great guy. Boy, that was a lot of fun. He's the director of golf now at Pelican's Nest Golf Club down in Bonita Springs, Florida, right there near Naples. You can check those guys out online. Beautiful golf course down there. But very much thank you to Chris Sheehan for being a part of the show. All right, we're going to get to my next guest, Shaun Micheel, and we'll do that on the other side of this station identification.
You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris-Mascaro, heard around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
And now back with me to answer more of your questions and share more of his stories and insights. On the French Lick Resort guest line is our good friend and 2003 PGA champion, Shaun Micheel. Good morning, Shaun. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. So, Shaun, I believe you're down in Florida now, working on your game. How are things shaping up?
It's been good so far. Had a lot of rust. I took some time off during the winter time, and guess I got down here on Monday. So just kind of getting my feet wet and spent the last couple of days just really hitting a lot of short shots and just kind of working my way back in it. But all's been going great so far.
So, Shaun, is it easy to pick up a club and sort of get right back in the groove? You mentioned rust. I remember Mr. Nicklaus saying that after, laying off over the winter that, he and Jack Grout and later Jim Flick, the guys that he worked with, his coaches, they'd sort of start all over again, beginning, right with the basics, even starting, out with his grip to make sure that, his grip was right and his stance was right and his posture was good so that, he didn't start off developing any bad habits. Do you get right back in position, or do you really tear it all down from the beginning and start over?
No, I mean I don't start over, but certainly you think about those types of things. I mean it's when I was younger and playing regularly, I might take a week or so off. I might have a week or two off between tournaments, or even in the wintertime I didn't take that much time off. It's so difficult to come back. I kind of, it's just a bad feeling when you don't touch a club for 5 or 6 weeks. So you really need to kind of get back into, as you're talking about, the fundamentals of the game. And, of course, I've always got a club in my hands, even if it's back home, it's just sitting around. I've always got a club in my hands. But it's so difficult because your body, gets used to moving. When you get into the summertime, your body's used to moving and when you're taking that much time off and you come back, the ball doesn't look right. The ground it's very difficult to kind of get back into it. And it's maybe the last time that I take that much time off. I mean, I certainly have thoughts of, a lot more competition in the next few years. So I think that this may be the last time I take more than a couple of weeks off. I just can't. I hate the feeling coming back. It's just too difficult to get back. Takes me a week or so before I even get comfortable hitting balls again. So that's not a good feeling. So,
Shaun, take us through your practice routine. How do you spend your time on the range?
Well, I spent Tuesday the majority of my time. I was probably here for 5 or 6 hours just kind of getting a short start. But I spent the first probably three hours just chipping and putting. And that's how I've kind of started my practice the last couple of days. When I'm playing more, it always starts with the short game. But as I said, it takes a little time when you've taken time off to kind of, I call it finding the ground. When you put a ball down for the first time, after taking some time off, the ball just doesn't look right in your stance. your body just doesn't feel right. You're looking down. So there's a lot of kind of things that you have to overcome. But my practice routine when I'm playing, I would say, is pretty consistent. It's usually starting with a short game, and I suppose that's changed over the years as I've gotten a little bit older. It takes a little bit longer to kind of loosen up my fingers and my hands, and so I like to get everything loose and everything. So I spend 10, 15 minutes just chipping the ball and then hit a few putts. And, so I spend a lot more time now in my warm-up. I used to be able to show up for 45 minutes, and as kind of time is catching up to me, I'm starting to meet my caddy an hour before now. So it's taking me a little bit longer to get there.
So you talk about starting off with your short game and spending a lot of time, on that and putting. Do you spend actually more time on the range and around the practice greens, or do you actually start to work your way into spending more time actually out on the golf course and maybe playing multiple golf balls out on the golf course to get a better feel?
Well, those are the things that I've started to do in the last year and a half. I spent a lot of time on the driving range, and you asked me one time what the best piece of advice that I'd ever gotten, and it was from my college coach, Sam Carmichael, and he told me to stay off the range. That was his lasting thought to me as I departed Indiana University, and to an extent he was certainly right, and I think I listened to that advice. I took it to heart for a while, and then as I kind of felt like my game was either slipping or I started working with a new teacher or whatever, I started spending more and more time on the driver range. I would say some of that was just going through the motions, just hitting balls, and that's probably not a good way to be. But over the last year and a half, I have spent a lot more time on the golf course. I take 15, 20 minutes. Usually I go work out before, so I'm warmed up. But I spend 15, 20 minutes just hitting a few balls, again, finding the ground, with my swing and everything, and I just go out and play, and I'll just play around all day. Fortunately, my golf course back home at Ridgeway Country Club is where I play most of my golf. It's usually not that crowded at the time I go out to play, so I go out there and hit a couple of drivers, and I chip and putt around every green and those types of things. Just to kind of simulate different shots. If you sit there around the practice green, you drop 15, 20 balls, you kind of stand there and hit the same shot over and over, and it's okay to do that a couple times, hit a couple balls in the same spot, but you really need to be varying up your practice, your targets especially. So I have spent a lot more time playing.
Shaun, I wanted to get your thoughts on some things going on right now in and around the tour. The guys are at TPC Scottsdale, the stadium course, this week. You played out there at the Phoenix Open. Curious to get what you remember about the Phoenix Open, and is that the rowdiest event out there on the PGA Tour?
Oh, certainly is. It certainly is. I never really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I always seem to have a lot of anxiety, kind of going into the golf tournament, just thinking about this, the 16th hole. And if I was starting on one, it was always my goal to try to be under par by the time I got to 16. And there were definitely some mean-spirited people, but it looks to me like people are just having a good time now. And I think maybe some of that was just a mental hurdle that I needed to get over. But I never really enjoyed that. When you walk into that arena, if you will, it's just, you're always kind of on stage when you're out there between the rows, but it's just more present when you walk into that. I heard Peter Jacobson call it walking into the cauldron or something, I think is what he said yesterday, and that's what it feels like. It's unique. You're just kind of enveloped in this sea of people and skyboxes and things of that, and it's really not that difficult of a shot. It's probably a 9 or 8 iron or something like that, and so you're not really worried about making a big number like you would be at 17 at Sawgrass. Imagine playing Sawgrass and having the amount of people in the grandstands around that place, it would be really, really intimidating. But it's just something I think you learn to embrace. Try to have fun with it. I've been watching a little bit on TV, and everyone seems to be really enjoying it. And for those that don't enjoy it, they don't play there. And I was never to that point. I was never to the point where I can't stand this. That I'm not ever coming back here. It was never like that for me. But there are anxious moments, and then they start on the first tee, because when you tee off in the afternoon, you can hear the crowd at the clubhouse, whatever it is they're singing or chanting or who their targets are that day. I mean, they are a loud and boisterous group. But it's interesting to see. But I think just once a year is probably all the PGA Tour I think can handle.
It's interesting, in the first round, Bubba Watson got booed when he came to the 16th because of some of the derogatory remarks he made about the course changes that Tom Weiskopf made to kind of make the course play a little tougher. And I mean, the fans, they let him have it, even as he stood over the ball, for crying out loud. And I mean, he took it really well because he stuck it to 11 feet and then made birdie. But it seems like etiquette sort of goes out the window when you play that hole.
It does. I mean, again, I've never really been somebody that really needed everything to be quiet. I'm not bothered by too much. I'm not bothered by people that are moving around. I don't see a lot of things. And some people, I think, just kind of use that as a crutch. The one thing about Bubba is I wish that he would stop apologizing for the things that he says. I wish he would, if you're going to say something, and certainly he would have put some thought into it because he's interviewed every week. I wish he would just stop apologizing. It's totally fine to not like a golf course. He didn't call out anybody in specifics, specifically. He just said he didn't like the golf course. He said the only reason he was there was because he has 3 great sponsors. And, okay.
Right.
Don't apologize for it. If you're going to say it, either think about what you're going to say prior to answer it and own it. And if people want to challenge you and you want to follow up with them, in another interview, then go ahead and do it. But I'm tired of him making these statements and then apologizing for them. And I think we've all probably done it, but not to the extent that he does it. And he gets a bad rep. And I like Bubba. I've played with him. His father died about a week before mine, and we had talked on the phone in 2010 in October when both of our parents passed. And I've enjoyed playing with him. He's an incredible talent. I love the way he plays the game. I just wish that he could own some of these statements that he's making, because he's not always off base. People ask for opinions of players, and when they give them, they're ready to be just kind of dismissed and thought of as a whiny PGA Tour player. So those are some of the frustrating things. But I was glad to see he did make birdie, and I don't know what he shot yesterday, but he's too good of a player to let some of these things.
Yeah. He birdied round 1, he bogeyed it round 2. So I'm sure they cheered when he bogeyed it in round 2.
I'm sure they did, but I mean, those. Hey, you know what? It doesn't really matter. But he hung in there. He could have just said, after he made those statements and realized, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. He didn't, feign an injury and fly home. He stuck it out there on Thursday. So he's still there battling it out. And I guess if he could just now, of course, that abuse doesn't always stay there at 16. It travels. If you ruffle some feathers out there, I mean, they're going to find you on the first hole, and I've seen it happen. Right? Yeah, I've seen it happen. I don't remember who I was playing with, but somebody said something. I have to think about it now, who it was. I don't even remember what year it was. It was probably like 06, 07, something like that, and we had to have security come out there and take somebody off. They were just yelling the whole day, and really in the whole back nine. So it just like I said, you find the wrong person, he's gonna come out of the audience around 16. He's gonna follow you around. So it's a unique thing. But you know what? They have fun with it. They generate a ton of money for charity. And, the PGA Tour was kind of founded on that principle of giving back. And that tournament has far exceeded any of the other events. I mean, I don't know how much money they make. I saw a post yesterday that said they're charging, so they're making like $12 million on the skyboxes or $15 million on the 250 skyboxes that they have there. So I don't know where that came from, but they do it. They do a great job. And the course is usually in good shape. Now, I've not seen the changes that Tom made. It looks like maybe there's a little bit of length added and maybe some bunkering had moved and stuff like that, but it wasn't a total reroute. It's a nice piece of property. The pace of play is always pretty good there. It's got a good mix of holes, and of course it's green, and it's just that ryegrass just really pops against the backdrop of that kind of dormant Bermuda and the desert setting. So it's really kind of a fun course to play, but it's intimidating as heck when you know what's facing you there at 16.
Does it because it's set up like a stadium, does it feel like you're sort of walking in and you're about to hit a golf shot either like in a football stadium or a baseball stadium?
Well, yeah, and it's weird because it's got a unique sound when you hit, or when the guy's hit in front of you, whether it's a practice round or a tournament round. When the ball comes off the club, it doesn't sound right. It kind of like echoes around in there, and that's the one thing that you see is that the noise is amplified because both sides are covered, and you're at the very bottom. It's kind of like where they, like playing in Seattle, I guess. It's pretty noisy, you walk through this tunnel to get out there, and it's like as soon as you walk through, it's like you're a rock star getting called out for a curtain call. It's really kind of cool, but it's just unique. It's exciting at the same time as it is intimidating, but it's unusual because on windy days it's a difficult shot just because you're protected on all sides by the wind, so you kind of lose sight of that. Your mind gets so rattled. You're so rattled by having to deal with 25 or 30,000 people surrounding you that you sometimes forget you're playing golf. Sometimes you just want to grab the ball, put it in the ground, and just hit and get out of the way, and be like, okay, this is a throwaway hole. And that's why I said that it's not that difficult of a hole. Surely you can just get a 9-iron up into the front of the green and 2-putt or 3-putt and get out of there. And those are some of the feelings that I always have. I was like, oh, God, let me just get this thing in the ground and just hit and get out of there. But it's unusual just because like I said, the conditions, when you find wind and things of that nature, it's difficult. There are flags blowing and stuff like that, but you just don't have the feeling. I mean, everything is just totally calm once you walk inside there. And it's a lot warmer and certainly a lot noisier.
And Shaun, the guy that you battled at the 2003 PGA Championship, Chad Campbell, he was playing pretty well. He shot a pair of 68s in the first couple of rounds, got himself near the top of the leaderboard. When you see a guy that you played against that's now near the top of the leaderboard, sort of the 40-something guys, do you root a little harder for those guys than maybe say the young guns?
I definitely do. I I spent some time on, I guess on Tuesday or Wednesday. I went down to Boca to the Champions Tour event and was actually walked around. I got there a couple hours early, and of course had to get some free stuff. But walked around with Todd Hamilton, who's a good friend of mine, and the kind of the looks that I got from all the guys that asked me what I was doing there. They didn't think I was 50 yet, and I said, well, I'm not. So I enjoyed being around those guys, and so yes, I do appreciate. These are the guys I know. Chad and I have played a lot of golf together. Todd and I were talking about this the other day, that, when if you get into a tour event, I don't care which one it is, and you go into the lunchroom to eat, you just don't know any of these people. And, the families and everybody's just gotten so young. It's certainly a young man's sport now. The kids are really coming into the tour ready to play at such a young age. It really kind of blows my mind a little bit. But I certainly do root for guys that kind of my contemporaries that are having success and that are still out there battling. I mean, the golf doesn't change. I mean, I think the things that really kind of hurt guys in their 40s are, you start having families and things like that, and your time is divided between your spouse and your children and your work and everything else and the travel. It's when you're younger, you don't have those responsibilities. It's pretty much 24/7 golf, and so I think some of those things affect you when you get older, and injuries are also part of it as well. So I don't know how many guys are still playing in their 40s. I mean, I think of Steve Stricker and of course Lee Westwood and these guys, and Tiger's now 40, but there's still a lot of great play out of these guys, and I root for all of them. And I still that's why I'm down here working, and I still got a couple more years before the Champions Tour. So my goals are to try to get out there and contend and compete this year when I get in tournaments, and to get back on the web.com next year and play golf and hopefully get one more shot at the PGA Tour, because that's I feel like mentally I can do it. It's just whether or not the physical part of my game will be there, and if the injuries can stay away, then I think I might have a good shot at it.
And Shaun, I want to go back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago about the media and whether what Bubba said and that sort of thing. But from a media perspective, when you look at we ask guys for their opinion, and when they give it to us, sometimes we don't like it, and if we don't like it, the media sort of hammers a guy. Right, so I don't, and you say, boy, you wish, Bubba would own it a little more. Are we as a society, from political correctness, right? We're all about being politically correct, so we've got to backtrack on any time we say anything controversial. But is it the media that is trying to get guys to backtrack? Is it the media that is trying to put the trap out there for you to step in, so then we can hammer you over social media for it? I mean, what's the biggest issue? Is it just because we don't like when guys have an opinion, or we like having an opinion when it just agrees with ours, but we don't like it when it doesn't agree with ours?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, social media has certainly made it, easier to complain, but also easier to take hits. And of course, there are always people out there that are trolling you as well. I don't really feel like the media. I feel like the media in golf has a good, healthy respect for the players, and but I know that it's got to get old when you interview a person and you ask them, about the round or about anything in life, and they just talk about golf nonstop. I mean, we do a lot of things outside of the game of golf. We have a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions on a lot of things. But I've never really been bashed by the media. I kind of always felt like I thought about some of the things that I wanted to say. And, of course, I wasn't as interviewed as often as some of these guys are today. I mean, you think about Tiger, and there were certainly a lot of people that wanted Tiger to take a stand, whether it's in the black community or the Thai community or whatever community it is. I mean, they really wanted him to take a stand on social issues, and he was just refrained from doing it. I mean, what good is that going to do? As anybody watches these debates, anybody that follows the government at all realizes there's not one person, even the President of the United States, can't spur on much change. It's just this back and forth, and it's the same thing with dealing with the media. I mean, there are certain things you're just not going to win. They've always said the pen is mightier than the sword, and a lot of times these reporters and these writers, they get the last word, and you're not always able to draft something appropriate, in a response. So it's not like you're dealing with a debate. It's kind of like when someone reads an article in the newspaper, that's almost the end of it. Unless a player has the opportunity to get in front of the media to address those things, most of them are addressed on social media. And in 140 characters, I mean, I certainly haven't taken a creative writing course in a while, but it's hard to get out really what you want to say in 140 characters, but I guess you can keep going on. But I think the media has changed. We go back to the old days where, and I bring up, Dan Jenkins, he always seemed to have access to the players. Of course, not being around in the 50s and 60s when he was doing a lot of writing with Hogan and all those I mean, he seemed to have unfettered access to these guys, and there was no reason to try to tear these people down. Now it's who's going to get the latest scoop, who's going to get the latest gossip, and it's frustrating. Some people just really feel great about themselves when bad things happen to other people. I mean, those people have existed forever, and they're going to exist, and they seem to be existing in greater numbers now. And I'm amazed at some of the things that people say that they wouldn't say to your face, and I know they wouldn't say them to my face. But you and I have had this discussion, about my situation in the PGA. And if you watch any sports show, of course the Super Bowl's coming up tomorrow, so there's always a lot of talk about that. But, now they're talking about Peyton Manning being the worst quarterback to ever play in a Super Bowl. And, of course, they're just going on the statistics this year. But I've put my life in perspective and by watching some of these shows, because people are getting bashed left and right. And I was like, you know what? It's out there. So these guys seem to handle it pretty well, so why can't I? So that's kind of that's kind of what I've chosen to do. But it's a hard question to answer, Chris. Really, the players, you need to recognize the fact that people are interested in what you're saying. There's a lot of people that are listening, particularly the younger people that you hope to try to get into this great game. We all do things. We've all done things that maybe haven't come out right, haven't looked great on the golf course. And those are the mistakes that you make that you hope to learn from. But what you don't want to see happen is the same mistake being made over and over, and just having an apology, kind of a backhanded apology, come out because either your wife's yelled at you or your management company is saying, hey, we need to issue a statement. I mean, that's the worst concept ever. We need to issue a statement. I can't stand that. We have to own some of these things. I think we're all pretty educated, either in life or school or both, and we need to think about some of the things that we say. I mean, I've certainly, said things and wanted to say things and have written things but not sent that. Fortunately, my wife's a lawyer, so a lot of the things that I want to write, I kind of get approval from her first. But it's an interesting time. It really is. This social media, I don't know who came up with this social media stuff, but it can be fun. It has been fun. Some of the things I've been using Facebook for are some of the things just with friends that I haven't connected with in a long, long time. And originally my plan with social media was to kind of showcase the PGA Tour a little bit in my eyes. I haven't been able to do that as much because I'm not playing as often, but I do read. I follow a lot of people. I follow a lot of news sources, and so I get a lot of my news and stuff that way. But I won't partake or participate in a lot of the negativity, and I'm quite shocked at some of the things that these people say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on all counts. I think the thing that I wish, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think similar to what you're saying, Shaun, if we all have opinions, and I embrace people that are willing to share their opinion, controversial or not, but own it when you say it, and don't come out, stand in front of a podium with a piece of paper in your hand that that your PR guy or gal wrote for you to so you can back off or back away from the thing that you said yesterday. I mean, we all have different opinions. We all don't share the same opinions, and it's okay to have a different opinion. What I hate about today's media, and I guess I'm part of it. I never view myself that way, but I guess I really am. Is that we want to hammer the guy or gal who has a different opinion because we are so shocked that it's different from the one that I have, that now I've got to go on social media, and I've got to go on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram and insert name of social media platform here and hammer you because, oh my goodness, you said this. I mean, crying out loud. We're allowed to have different opinions. That's what makes our country great.
Well, I think in my case, when people make opinions, or really in any case, that you're not just spouting off at the mouth, that you actually have kind of a reason behind your opinion. I mean, whether it's you're talking about the presidential election. I mean, whether you like Ted Cruz, Bernie Sanders. I mean, everybody. There are some people out there that are going to vote Democratic. They don't care who the candidate is, how far left they are, or how far right the other person is. They're just going to vote that way, And so, you might have an opinion on that, but at least have some facts or some reasons behind your opinion, as opposed to just getting up there and that's where you get into trouble when you don't have any. When they get a follow-up question, and you're kind of just standing there like, oh well. I just said that because I don't like so-and-so or whatever. So I have no problems with debate, but I do have a problem with people just coming out and just saying these outlandish things to try to spur on, a response so that you can capture that and write about it. And that's what goes on. And you see some of the guys, and I'm sure there's some media that really get caught up in that, trying to figure out, okay, I don't really believe this, but I'm gonna challenge this player and see what his response is, and then it goes from there.
Right. And Shaun, I want to get a couple of opinions from you. Speaking of opinions, before we let you go, first, I wanted to get your thoughts on the European Tour allowing their players to wear shorts during practice rounds and pro-ams. What do you think about the opportunity to do that? Their chief executive, Keith Pelley, believes it's going to help modernize the game. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I read that article a week or so ago as well, and some of the places that these guys are playing, and I've certainly been there. You talk about Southeast Asia, Singapore and Kuala Lumpur and Bangkok and all these places. It's just unbelievably hot. I don't know. Of course, you're not forced to do it, but I think it's great. I mean, it is a move in the right direction. What harm does it do? You're not coming across, I don't think, unprofessionally. I don't think the PGA Tour will ever allow it, and of course, none of us ever thought they would allow caddies to wear shorts either. So we'll see how that moves, but I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say the PGA Tour might not allow it, and I don't disagree that that's going to be a tough change to get through for the traditionalists. But and you know this a million times better than I, so please let me know. But when we play rounds of golf, on a weekend, the regular golfer, the hackers like me, we all wear shorts. That's what we wear. You wear shorts to play the game, and I get the professional look and all that sort of thing. But I'm guessing, from Tim Fincham all the way on down, if we're going to get together to play a round of golf on a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Saturday, not during the season, it's not a big event, we're wearing shorts, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is the outfit. And I think a lot of this younger generation of player, I think it may be the group that kind of gets people heading in that direction, for sure. That's the outfit that people are wearing, nice pair of Bermuda shorts and skirts or whatever for ladies, and that's what it is. I mean, you look outside the crowd, and the crowd, who's wearing long pants out there? Nobody.
Right. You guys are the only one wearing long pants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You've seen even in business today. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that wear suits. There are more relaxing type days that people have, where they don't have to wear a shirt and tie. They can wear maybe a blazer and a nice shirt underneath it or something like that. So, maybe we're heading in that direction. But I suppose I'm kind of a traditionalist in that way, and it's just I guess it's just so ingrained in me that I've never even considered the alternative. I've never even thought about asking the tour about wearing pants, just because that's just the way it's always been. And so maybe we just need this younger group to be able to get things going. But by the time it passes, I probably won't want to see my legs anyway.
All right, Shaun, one more before we let you get back to practicing. We got the big game tomorrow, and we've talked football on this show, you and I, several times. But who do you got?
Well, certainly the sentimental favorite's got to be Peyton Manning for a lot of reasons. One, I think that it may be his last game. Two, there's a lot of people that think that there's no way that Eli Manning should have Super Bowl wins, even though he's an unbelievable quarterback. But I think Carolina, it just seems to be their year. What they've lost one game probably shouldn't have lost that game. And they look pretty good. They got a good defense. Their offense. I mean, I just worry about. You don't worry about Denver's defense, but you kind of worry about the offense and what Peyton's able to do. I don't know what the weather forecast is like or not, but Peyton doesn't throw a great ball now, and he probably hasn't thrown a great ball in his entire career. He's one of the first quarterbacks I've ever seen that doesn't throw a spiral on every throw. So. Weather would be. I think weather would be a huge issue for the Denver Broncos, but I'm not sure what it's going to be. But I don't know. I kind of like Carolina. I'd say relatively new team. They had D'Angelo Williams from Memphis. They moved him off to Pittsburgh. I hated seeing that.
Right.
But kind of all the things that Cam Newton has kind of gone through from his college days at Auburn to really kind of come into his own. I mean, he's an incredible talent, and I've always kind of been a Broncos fan, so I kind of like to see them win, but I think it's going to be a Carolina game.
Well, I can react to a couple of things. First of all, D'Angelo Williams to the Steelers. As a Steelers fan, we love D'Lo, so thank goodness we had him this year, especially with the injuries that we've had. To last few years with Le'Veon Bell, so he's been a godsend. So we're glad to have D'Angelo at Pittsburgh. I love the idea that the football gods can't allow Eli to have more rings than Peyton. Theory that Peyton wins. I think that's hilarious. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that the money obviously is on Carolina, but I'm rooting for Denver, and I think Denver can win the game. I think if you really, and we did this on our football show on Thursday Night Tailgate a couple of nights ago. When we were talking with several of the former players that joined us, particularly Tony Collins of the Patriots. But you look inside the numbers, Carolina, and you can, and Shaun, we talk about this all the time, or they talk about this all the time, particularly in college football. But you can only play the teams that are on your schedule, right? Mm-hmm. So in Carolina, beat almost all of them. And to your point, they lost, I'm here in Atlanta, so they lost to the Falcons, and probably should have beat them, but. You look at the level of competition that they played against this year, and it wasn't very good. They played against the AFC South, so you're looking at teams like Jacksonville and Tennessee and Indianapolis who had a very down season. They played the NFC East that obviously also had a very down season. Really, the only good team they played the whole season was Seattle, and they beat them twice. Yeah. So, kudos to them. But they didn't play a defense like Denver has, and Denver's got a really stout defense. It's going to be fun to watch, I think, to your point. The battle that's going to be interesting to see is Carolina is one of the top rushing offenses in the league, and Denver's got one of the top rushing defenses in the league, and they also got a pretty good pass defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up offense versus defense. Yeah,
it certainly will. And, I just listened to some radio stuff yesterday, and Trent Dilfer, I think he really feels that the Broncos are going to come away with a victory. I mean, I think experience is always a huge part of it. I know it's just a game, it's a football game, but it's the Super Bowl 50. Right. And so Trent was talking about, that Peyton maybe doesn't utilize the long ball, but maybe breaks it up with a little bit of the run game, some of the short passing games, he was talking about the blocking schemes against his own defense and things like that might, that maybe Carolina hasn't faced. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of how they game plan, for Carolina and what they're able to try to let Peyton do. If he can stay protected, is he able to get the ball out quick and those types of things. I don't know if it'll be a very high scoring game. It's what's high scoring anymore in the NFL. I mean, I think it's, I don't know what the over-under is, but I would certainly say it'd be under, I would say it'd be under 55.
It's 45.5 right now.
Is it? Okay, so it's pretty low. So it just depends. Like I said, it's Peyton Manning, this is going to be a sixth Super Bowl, I think. So, he definitely has the experience, and I think he'll come in ready to win. I don't think it would surprise anyone, that if Denver won the game. I really don't. I think Denver's kind of come in under the radar a little bit. And I wish that New England would have beaten Denver, because I think that, I think it would have been a better game to see those two guys, Cam and Brady kind of go up against one another. But how can you argue against Peyton? They did the things they needed to do. They they kind of quietly won all these games. They've made their way all the way there. So I think it's definitely, Carolina better be ready. And I don't know. I'll be watching like everybody else. And I suppose I'm kind of neutral on it, but I'm just looking for a great game. I just love to see a great game. That's all I'm asking for.
Right. Hi, Shaun. Before we let you go, remind our listeners again how they can follow you online and over social media.
I can be found at Shaun Micheel in Facebook, at Shaun Micheel PGA, and on Twitter. And is there anything else? LinkedIn? I'm probably on LinkedIn somewhere. So I don't know. I can't keep track. I don't do some of this other crazy stuff like Snapchat or Instagram or anything like that. I hadn't quite caught up. It took me a couple of years to even get on Facebook, but you can find me there, and I'd love to hear from you.
That's great stuff. Shaun, thanks for taking time out of your morning to join me again this week on the show. Always so much fun getting the opportunity to chat with you for a while. We look forward to hopefully catching up with you again soon as your schedule allows, because you're fantastic to have on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris. It's always a pleasure to be with you too.
All right, take care, Shaun. We look forward to the opportunity to catch up with you again soon. In the meantime, my friend, all the best to you and to your family as well.
Thank you, Chris. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. That's 2003 PGA champion Shaun Micheel. Always a great time getting the opportunity to spend some time with Shaun. Chris-Sheehan earlier in the hour. What a great time it was with him as well. All right, folks, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode. But before we close up shop, I want to remind you about our friend and partner, PGA Tour professional Jim Estes, and the great folks over at the Salute Military Golf Association doing some great things for our military veterans. Let's take a listen to a word from Jim.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Yeah, they're doing some amazing things there at the Salute Military Golf Association. Please, to find out more information and to see how you can get involved, go to smga.org. All right, everybody, my sincere thanks to Chris-Sheehan and Shaun Micheel for joining me today and making today's episode so much fun for me to be a part of. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazzari and our announcer Joe LaGianusa. That show airs every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on the Armed Forces Radio Network, Blog Talk Radio, iHeartRadio, all over the Internet. Every week we are talking to legends from around the NFL and the CFL as well. Please also check out, both shows. This one, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, Thursday Night Tailgate. You can find us on Facebook. Give us a like. Let us know what you think about this show. That's important to us as well. You can also find us online. This show, nextonthetee.net and ThursdayNightTailgate.com. From either site, you can stream or download any of our archive episodes for free, folks, and keep up to date with who some of our future guests are going to be as well. All right, thanks again, folks, for listening to today's show. We know you have a choice in a lot of shows that you can listen to. We really appreciate the fact that you're making Next on the Tee one of them. Until next week, my friends, hit 'em straight.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors, and media members go to tell their stories. Join us same time every Saturday to hear more stories about the game we love from the people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.
Shop the Ashley Home Store President's Day sale. Save up to $1,000 on styles for every room. Shop queen beds as low as $3.99. Upholstered queen beds were $9.99, now just $4.99. And reclining sofas in dining rooms, only $7.99. Or pay no interest for 5 years. Plus accent chairs from $1.99 and so much more. Hurry in for up to $1,000 off our best styles. Ashley Home Store. This is home. Offer subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payment required. See store for details.